Hello everyone, in this lesson we'll be discussing types of forecasting model. We can classify, or in this lesson we'll be talking about two types of models. First is time series, very famous time series forecasting, and the second is the causal models. These are the two types of models. So time series models are the models which has um, reference or the labels as time or time frame. So suppose you have a data which has months here: Jan, Feb, March, right? These are the month you have plotted, and then you have sales for these months. So Jan you did 10 units, Feb you did 15 units, March you did 20 units, and with these three you want to predict for April, right? So this is time series data. You have a time at one side, so here you have time as a reference, right? And here you have demand as one side. So you have time versus demand. So this is nothing but time series data. Talking a bit more in detail for time series, I'll take it here. So time series data. So one thing we discussed is we have time as a reference, right? Reference, or in data science we call it as index. Time as index. Second thing, in this type of forecasting, we expect that data has a certain type of uh, trend. It has a seasonality with respect to time. So with respect to time, we expect there is a certain pattern our data has. Hmm. If you want to plot a graph, right? And the graph is like this, and we have, this is still 21, 2021. This is 2022. This is 2023, right? So if I want to plot a graph, so in the beginning of the year I am generally high, then I come down here, then again beginning of the next year I go a bit high, then again I come below, then again I take a hike and go down. You see there is a seasonality, like you have a seasonality at the beginning of the year. Every time you see you have a seasonality here, you have a seasonality here, you have a seasonality here, right? And if you want to plot the trend, if you want to plot the trend, so here, taking this as the initial point, so it is going like trend is going down, then suddenly it's up here, right? So you have certain trend in the base data, right? It's a trend is basically in the direction in which the data is going, whether it's trend can be either upward or can be, a downward. So within a year we see a below, a downward trend, but if you take 2 years data, so it's a upward trend. So this is what is basically time series data. So we expect time series data to reproduced or to forecast with the help of historical time. We want to forecast the future trend, right? Future trend we want to forecast. We want to give it, some seasonality with respect to time. So this is a time series data, all in all. You have a time as a reference, as index, and you have certain pattern with respect to time, and you want to recreate it or forecast it. So for it would have a component as a trend, a baseline, a seasonality. So this is time series data. So let us discuss the models which are there, right? What are the models used in time series? What are the models or different types of models for time series data? So one of the very basic model is moving average. We'll be discussing that in the lesson. Moving average or some variations of moving averages, weighted moving average. Then a bit advanced is the exponential smoothing method. And then you have ARIMA model. Hmm. Or before ARIMA there is AR model, autoregressive models. And moving average. So ARIMA model is basically a combination of autoregressive and moving average. So in this lesson we'll be learning all this. All this time series model will be covered in this course, and you'll have examples, case studies, pros and cons of everything. So this is what is time series. So far we discussed time series models. Yeah, this is what we are discussing. Now let us jump to the causal models. What are the causal models? So causal models are the models in which the time as an index is not enough. You need additional inputs to predict. Now these are a bit complicated models. So um, suppose you want to forecast for um, number of fridges. Suppose you have equipment which is a fridge, right? You want to forecast a fridge number of sales of fridges that is going to happen in certain area. So area 1 we want to predict the forecast. Now along with the time, now we have a time as a one of the features for predicting the data or predicting the forecast, but we also want to incorporate a number of uh, new buildings coming up, new buildings, right? Number of buildings or constructions happening. hmm. Do you want to include this also as a factor? Why this we want to add this? Because the more the number of buildings, buildings will have different flats or different flats into it or houses into it. So if buildings increases, more families will be coming up into those buildings, and they'll will require fridge, and the requirement of fridge increases. That's one. Number of buildings. Then we may also want to plot um, year to year rise in temperature. Hmm? Year to year rise in temperature we want to plot. So we have a data where we have rise in temperature versus number of families switching to use of fridges. So we want to use that data and we want to incorporate that in our forecast. Or thirdly, uh, is the uh, number of people above poverty line, right? So more and more people are getting jobs. They are shifting above poverty lines, and they want to have fridge in their home. So these are some external factors. So causal models are a bit complicated model. The You can't just predict based upon, it's not so easy. You just can't have a time reference one side and demand reference one time, and the the future sales is only dependent on the time and historical data, right? So time series is mostly, this is again very good point, time series is mostly based upon reproducing the whatever has happened in history. You want to reproduce it. But causal models is in this we know that the future is not going to be exactly as same as the future is not going to be same as past. Future is not exactly equal to past. But this is the assumption. Yeah, so time series is with this assumption that future would be almost equivalent. So this is almost equivalent as past. So this is very important. So So let me just mark this into some other color. So this is an assumption in time series model. Yeah, the future is as good as past. In causal model, that is not the case, right? That is not going to happen. Hmm. So um, past and future are not equivalent. In future, there are number of buildings, a huge construction happening. Government has introduced some new policy for the poor people, or some new some companies coming into the city, and they are giving accommodations to their employees, and a lot of new families are going to shift. So this output of fridges is going to be dependent upon a lot of other factors. It's not just equivalent to past. So that's the major difference between causal models and time series. Some examples for causal models are, random forest, random forest, XGBoost. So these are some examples for the causal models. So far I have already introduced time series models in this lessons. Causal models with Excel is a bit complicated, but yeah, I'm still thinking how we can plan to have causal models as a part of this course. But yeah, we do have time series, and it's the most popular one, and this would really do a good help for you in your forecasting. So yeah, this is it about time series and causal models, types of forecasting model. Thank you and have a great day ahead.